The LCS lock-in semifinals start tomorrow, Friday. And so I want to look at the two matchups we're going to get, which I think aren't too surprising what the top four teams are. I want to take a look at kind of which teams I think are going to win and why, and how things might go differently than expected. So let's just jump in with 100 Thieves versus C9, and I'm going to avoid talking about TSM, which is the other team that I would have had in kind of my top five going in, and why they aren't in this group. They just need more time, I think, to come together. I still think their future is good, but we're not going to get into that too deep. I just want to jump into the semifinals and share some quick thoughts. So 100 Thieves versus C9, I think, people probably would have expected, or I definitely would have expected Cloud9 to look a little more favored, given just the overall set of talent. I think my opinions on Cloud9 have been out there pretty clearly that I think they are going to be the best team in North America, and I don't know. I wouldn't say right now they clearly are, right? But I think they're in that conversation at least. I think it's worth noting that Perkz definitely isn't kind of gapping people the way that a lot of Perkz fans thought he might be. They thought he'd come in and he'd be, way up in CS every game and just 1v9ing every game and destroying everybody, dealing all this damage. And that hasn't been the case. He's been fine, I think. I think some people have jumped on him too hard and thought he hasn't been playing well at all. I think he's been playing fine. I think there have definitely been games where he tried to style too much, where he looked like a little bit of a fish out of water in the sense of trying to do more than he needed to do. And in other games, just circumstances around him didn't let him pop off the way he wanted to. But he also had some plays in some games where he's looked pretty good to me. So I think he's doing fine. I think he's on track. And I think a lot of the things he's doing for this team are kind of what I expected to be, kind of the little things, the unnoticeable things or difficult to notice things that are helping the team out and bringing them together, even when, making comeback plays, allowing them to win team fights, things like that. But it is worth noticing that on the statistical front, he is actually losing lane in terms of golden experience on average. He's got a negative 121 gold plus experience difference at 10, and he's only picking up 7.7 CS per minute. He has been playing some Galio and things like that, which the farm numbers can be a little lower. You funnel it more into other people on the map. But, I think he's still kind of doing fine. It is really interesting to note with Cloud9 that Perkz and Fudge are both below 50% kill participation for the tournament so far. So really the team has been playing through other parts of the map. And specifically it's been through Blabber and Vulcan, who I think are pretty clearly the best jungle support duo in the LCS right now. And both of those guys have been having just a great tournament so far. I think they're going to be probably the biggest difference in this match. Not to say that Closer and Huhi aren't a good pairing of their own, because I think they're pretty good too. And Huhi has had some good moments. But I think Vulcan right now is playing, a top 2 support in the league level right now. I think it's hard to, you take a lot longer to, in a fallout from Core JJ, to put them on the same level, but they're both really up there right now. And they're doing great. I think Blabber is looking very much in form. I think people had questions about Perkz and Blabber, can they replicate the Nisqy Blabber stuff? Obviously it's going to take time for that duo to fit together as well as Blabber and Nisqy had with all the time they had together. But I think it's been okay. And I think Blabber himself has been doing really well. Another matchup or just a place on the map that I think is going to be very interesting is Ssumday versus Fudge in the top lane, because Fudge hasn't been having the tournament he wanted so far. Partly that's the way teams are attacking him, and partly it's just a little bit of seeming like he needs to find some comfort yet. And Ssumday is a great player. I think one of the reasons that this matchup is going to be so interesting is just because I want to see how Cloud9 specifically approach that lane in the draft. What we've seen from 100 Thieves in some of the recent games is that both Golden Guardians and Immortals, for example, tried to attack Ssumday really hard with counter picks, and they really held him down in lane, but 100 Thieves won anyways, or were able to kind of work through it, play through the bottom side of the map, which I think shouldn't be any surprise when you have FBI and Huhi as your bot lane, and they love to just be a high pressure dominant 2v2, and to carry that way. So I'm really curious to see whether 100 Thieves are going to allow that in the draft, or set themselves up for, hey, go ahead and, counterpick Ssumday when we're going to have a really big carry presence in the bot lane, or whether they're going to try to invest more of their game plans. Like they have drafted Renekton in Italy and stuff like that, and they should be able to try to play through top lane with their drafts, but they haven't really been worrying about that. So are 100 Thieves going to try to play through Ssumday more? Are they going to allow him to be kind of more of the sacrificial lamb while they carry somewhere else? I think it'd be smart for Cloud9 to not try to attack Ssumday in the draft. I think they should attack the bot lane in the draft and try to deny FBI and Huhi. But we'll see what they choose to do. And we'll also see whether 100 Thieves can manage to win through the bot lane when they're playing into Sven and Vulcan, who I think are a much more challenging 2v2 lane to win against than what 100 Thieves have been beating more recently. Not to say that FBI and Huhi can't win 2v2 against Sven and Vulcan. I think they can. I think they're really good 2v2, but I think it might be wise for 100 Thieves to kind of flip the script a little bit and try to smash through top lane, given that Fudge has shown some weakness, given that I think Someday, like they have been putting Someday in position on some of these drafts, but they need to, I think they have a little more opportunity to actually use the tools he's been given to win the game. And they can always use, as Emily Rand would love to bring up, they can use the ability to have a winning top lane and then bring that pressure into bot through the heliports and things like that. So I'm curious how 100 Thieves are going to approach that. So I am expecting also that 100 Thieves are going to struggle a little bit in the mid-late game, where I think Cloud9 have actually looked kind of good with their team fighting and some of their creative comeback attempts and things like that. Their ability to engage fights really well with a lot of different members in their team engaging. So I think that 100 Thieves are going to struggle a little bit in the mid and late game, even if they do win some early games. And that's a big reason, along with all the other kind of scattered thoughts I've been sharing here, where I'm going to predict Cloud9 3-1 in this series. I think 100 Thieves are a pretty good team, and they'll find a way to smash through Cloud9 once. But I think Cloud9, I think they have strength in the places that they need to attack the most comfortable 100 Thieves win conditions, or the types of win conditions they like to draft themselves into. And I think Cloud9 have the creativity and playmaking to win from behind and to exploit any mistakes in the mid and late game that 100 Thieves will give them. So that's my prediction there. Moving on to Evil Geniuses versus Team Liquid. This one, I think, again, top lane is going to be very interesting. Everybody's looking at the Impact kind of grudge match potential here. He did a good interview with Travis Gafford, and you can check that out on his channel, where he talked about kind of wanting to get back at TL a little bit, like in a playful way. But I think it was very interesting to hear Impact talk about how he feels like on Evil Geniuses he has more opportunity to play the way he wants to play, to be more creative and flexible with his champion pool and style and all that kind of thing. So I'm also, again, looking very closely at the draft for the top lane. Will EG draft more kind of strong top sides, Renekton, Nidalees, and things like that? Will they revert Impact to Ornn and maybe like a tank Gragas and stuff like that, where he's more of a playmaker and less about winning his lane matchup? And TL, of course, like Alphari wants to win every lane he's in, and he wants to shove hard every lane he's in and play that way. So how is that matchup going to play in the draft? I think EG, they can really go two different directions with it, right? Like they can try to double down on playing through top side, maybe trying to exploit Alphari for how much he likes to push his lane, get some ganks in there and play through that part of the map, while kind of sacrificing their bot lane, because it has to be acknowledged that Tactical and Core JJ versus Deftly and Ignar, I think, is a pretty big mismatch in lane. And so do EG want to play away from that and say, okay, Deftly, like you're on your own, don't die too much, or, preferably not at all, but it's going to be tough, and just try to smash through kind of their solo lanes? Or do they say, no, we know Impact is so good at being left up here on his own and, maybe making some TP plays into bot or whatever it is, and we're going to try to cover that. We know Core JJ and Tactical will probably want to try to get aggressive. They're probably going to try to look for some 2v2 kills, and maybe they're going to put themselves in vulnerable positions that we can attack. So I think the onus is on EG to decide which of those approaches they want to take. I think it's pretty clear that TL are going to try to dominate the 2v2 bottom, that Alphari is going to try to take over his 1v1 lane, because that's just kind of what he does. And EG are going to have to decide what they want to do about it. And I think TL are kind of the ones in the upper hand position saying, we're really good at this, and you're going to have to beat us, because otherwise we're just going to, do our default thing. A really impressive stat from Team Liquid so far to kind of emphasize that Tactical Core JJ point. Tactical is in the tournament so far averaging plus 907 GXT10. So that's a huge lead that he's getting a golden experience coming out of the laning phase. And Team Liquid as a team have an 82.2 early game rating so far, so 82% chance, like probability of winning as of the 15-minute mark. EG are at 64.8, which is fine. But Team Liquid, I think, are pretty clearly the stronger laning team right now, an early game team. They've been controlling literally every single first dragon so far. So again, EG, I think, have the opportunity to either try to play away from the bot side, and Impact, I think, has shown really impressively, did a whole Run It episode on him playing strong side now and being able to actually execute that way for EG. So EG can try to do that. They can try to use their prediction of how TL want to play the bot side and kind of attack that. It's going to be really fascinating, I think. I believe EG are smart enough to find a plan to take one game off TL, but again, I'm going with another 3-1 for the favorites here. I think Team Liquid are going to win it 3-1. But if EG just generally outdraft TL, which I think can happen, I think EG have shown much better drafting than TL so far. Or if Ignar does some of the really creative kind of flip the script kind of plays that he's capable of doing, maybe he flips the mid lane matchup a little bit and helps Jiizuke take off. I think those are ways that EG can win. I'm probably, if one of these series is going to go different from what I expect, it's probably EGTL, just because I think EG are going to have some really creative and interesting ideas on how to attack the way TL play, because TL are going to play a pretty, I think it's going to be pretty obvious the way TL are going to play, unless they decide to come into this tournament and just, really experiment a lot, which, a little bit of Twitter interactions with Jad have suggested they are trying to develop that mindset of let's test our limits a little bit, let's make some plays and be creative and see what happens with it. So TL might come in with that mindset, which could be really explosive in either direction. I think EG can probably be smart enough to take advantage of that. I just don't know if EG have the raw skill to overcome what TL are offering. But I do think if one of these series goes a different way, I think it could be EG going 3-2 or even taking a 3-2 themselves. But I am officially predicting a TL 3-1. So we'll see what happens with that one. So some kind of scattered rambling thoughts on the two series, predicting Cloud9 3-1, TL 3-1. But it's going to be fun to watch. And then if I have time, maybe I'll share some finals predictions once we know who's actually going to be in it. I did predict going into this tournament that it would be C9 TL as the best two teams in the league right off the bat and probably all the way through the year. And so far, I don't really see anything that's going to change my mind on that, but this is going to be the first real opportunity, I think, to prove otherwise if something else is going to be the case. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think of my take. If nobody ever disagreed with what I was saying, it wouldn't be worth putting out there. So I want to hear from you whether you like what I was saying, whether you think I got it wrong somewhere. Either way, let's have that conversation. Make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. It really does help the channel grow a lot, so I appreciate it.